Our next speaker is Hayley. I'm not going to say her surname because I'm going to get it wrong. Hayley is mum to Natty and Leah and runs the blog site Downside Up. She has written extensively and has won national awards for her writing. She was due to join us last year at Positive Choices, but due to transport difficulties, the train line from Cornwall was not functioning. This was not possible. But we were really inspired by the video that she sent and which we watched. This year, we are delighted to welcome her in person, Hayley.
Thank you so very much for having me and the whole family this year. Ludicrously emotional today. It's been, I think we can all vouch for what an emotional day it's been. I'm shaking like a leaf listening to Paul's legacy and then mix it. So forgive me if I fall apart, but I'll be fine. In a former life, I was a linguist and a language teacher. And today I thought we'd just take a little look at how our words count. Don't start. I look at this photo and I see two very ordinary, average newlyweds. Two very naive people, actually, with no real idea what the world's all about, and whose priorities were the latest film, booking the next holiday, meal out, or lie in. Wink, wink. My husband's at the back, who's laughing. They were oblivious to the world's differences, of the unexpected paths that life can take you on, and they arrogantly thought they could plan every step of their future together. This couple had no idea about supporting others, taking joy in simple pleasures, or living for the moment. I actually feel very sorry for them. Growing up in a world where learning disability was segregated, hidden, institutionalised, physically removed from their society. They felt sure they'd moved on from those shameful societal attitudes, but at best I think they'd only managed to achieve a patronisingly jolly approach to learning disability. And I think they may have described people as having, who had a learning disability as being musical and loving. I can't be sure, I can't remember, but they were ignorant. And deep in their hearts was the partner of ignorance, which is fear. A fear that resulted in distance. I know, because that was my husband and I. We don't mind what sex the baby is as long as it's going to be healthy, we unthinkingly stated when pregnant with both our girls. Just one of those phrases that trips off the tongue. I don't know how many of you've got children. I don't know if you've even said it. Just one of those things that we just say. But what if one of them wasn't? What dangerous subtext had we internalised over the years? When we refused invasive testing, offered routinely for peace of mind, only peace of mind if you hear what you think you want to hear, because of the risk to an unborn healthy baby, again we were accepting the unspoken lie that the life of a baby with health complications or a learning disability was worth a little bit less than one that does not. We arrogantly shrugged off a 1 in 273 risk of Down syndrome, having a baby with Down syndrome, because that doesn't happen to healthy vitamin-taking women like me who've read every single manual in the land. Does it? Of course, right there is where society's attitudes to learning this disability gets off on the wrong foot. Right there in the womb. She's back, so it's quite hot. Okay. Our youngest daughter...
Unicorns and fairies.
I'm alright. Unicorns and fairies. We're good. Our youngest daughter Natalia came into our world after a calm, planned labour at home. Small and silent and blue, she was born on our bathroom floor. It was meant to be downstairs and Bob had it covered in plastic. I don't know what he thought was going to happen. What followed is etched in my heart and frozen in time. The look of utter sheer panic on the midwife's face as she performed mouth to mouth. My husband in shorts in a freezing December lane waiting to flag down the ambulance. Overly jovial paramedics helping me to the ambulance and voices repeating how beautiful my baby was over and over. Why were they saying that? As I looked past the oxygen tube to her little face, which was so unlike her sister's, my brain dared not formulate a question. My mouth just couldn't shape the words because I was terrified of hearing what I thought was my worst nightmare. How little I knew. Hours later, while Natalia lay on a ward apart from us, distant from us, away from us, the thunderbolt of the diagnosis was given very formally, along with the confirmation of a heart condition. Our community midwife cried, "This shouldn't happen to such a lovely family." And her tears drove a little wedge into the bond between my baby and I, because how very little she knew too. Too much, too soon, and overwhelmingly tragic. Leaflets, bloody poem about Holland, and platitudes. And platitudes that seemed insincere after so many months, 9 of them, of warnings and advice about tests and scans and screens. Their tune had changed because Natty was here, in the here and now, but I knew they didn't mean any of it. My ignorance came to the fore and nonsense tumbled through my head. Would we ever visit the beach again? We live in Cornwall. Would people stare? Would she wear terrible clothes and have a national health haircut? But mostly, was I good enough to be her mum? I was shocked and overwhelmed by the unknown that lay ahead of us. And I was afraid to love our baby too much in case we lost her. We really didn't know. Oh, I really wish I could go back and see her simply as our beautiful and vulnerable daughter before any diagnosis or predictions for her future. For she was simply that, and so unaware of the stigma attached to her additional chromosome. I'm so sorry.
Unicorns and fairies.
But of course, I look back now. It's hard doing that when they're in the room, that's all. I look back now with my 20/20 hindsight glasses on and I see how very wrong I was and how differently the beginning of our journey could and should have been. The day... I'm alright, I am. The day... Yes. The day of the birth of any of your children should not be the very worst day of your life, and for so many of us it is. But there is a lot of good practice in the early days, but sadly it's all too rare. As parents, we spend 9 months having Down syndrome presented to us as a risk. Risk of fire, risk of flooding, risk of drowning, risk of... Such a negative word. Something to be tested for and screened out like a cancer. If the test is positive, very often families are told it's bad news. amid concerns and sorries, and pictures of children suffering and being afflicted are portrayed by sorrowful consultants. All too often, the only option given to families is an appointment to end this perceived suffering before it begins, a kind of early euthanasia. I guess you know the 92% termination rate of those who have an antenatal diagnosis, which obviously not all parents go for. These are direct quotes from families that contact me. I can book you in for a termination in the morning. No time, no cooling off period. Get longer than that with a freezer, to think about it. I can't treat you if you continue with this pregnancy. I wouldn't continue this pregnancy if I were you. Your marriage will be over if you don't end this nonsense now. And why? Oh. If we hear these words from our trusted medical professionals during pregnancy, is it any wonder that we're filled with fear, thinking that Down syndrome is to be avoided, eradicated at all costs? How can we be getting this so very wrong? Why is it that for so many of us, this diagnosis is, just such a thunderbolt and the worst news that we could possibly imagine hearing? The reality of my life now. I shudder to think how lucky we are to have slipped through that net. This picture actually shows Natalia having her very first taste of breast milk. Mm-hmm. And we expressed everything for 3 months, and she then learned after 3 months to breastfeed.
Well done.
It can be done. Mm-hmm. There are midwives who say it can't be done, their tongues are too big, they can't do it. And actually it just gave me something to do, and it makes me feel like I was doing something for Hayley. There have, of course, been challenges along the way. I'm not painting a rosy picture, but the medical angels have carried us forward. You are the medical angels. Their names are long forgotten, but their faces and their words remain in our hearts. There are words we remember on the difficult days. There was a tall, beautiful, dark junior doctor who told us that we would be ambassadors for children like Natty one day. I think she was about 2 days old. And I think I took him a bit literally. The neonatal nurse who showed us family photo albums of her daughter who had Down syndrome. The wise midwife who lent me an industrial breast pump. And who told me to get down to that hospital and simply love our baby because she needed it whether she lived or died. Just what I needed to shake me out of my selfishness. The health visitor who got it and told me she'd always be there for us and who listened without talking and without judgment. It's that listening, not talking, it's that listening. The GP, a granddad to a little boy with Down syndrome himself, who asked to be Natty's doctor, and who welcomed her into his arms on the first visit, saying, "Now, let me see this gorgeous baby I've heard all about," quickly followed by, "These are the world's best kept secret, these babies." Many, 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 many nurses who've shared coffees with me in the wee small hours on some ward or another, who've been unruffled by my tears or who've shared with my rants, and who've ultimately filled me with hope. Paediatricians who've told us we're doing a good job, and just that simple nod that we're on the right track is all you need as a mum sometimes, because it can be hard work. And the doctors who now speak directly to Natty and value her voice as much as mine. Day after keyhole heart surgery. Hours after, minutes after. But for me, coming into contact with learning disability nurses has been incredible. The most important role of the learning disability nurse was to listen to our fears as a family, to validate our feelings and not brush them aside. During heart surgery, there were teams of wonderful paediatric nurses to help us all, of course, to help siblings and grannies and everybody. But more recently, a learning disability nurse team helped ensure that Natty's tonsil op went as smoothly as possible. They understood her history, that each hospitalisation builds on the next, The experiences are remembered for Mum and Dad as well as for the patient. They ensured she went to theatre early in the day and avoided scary pre-meds and needles. As she grows, your services become more essential to us all. So, let's see. What would I go back and tell that pregnant mum I once was? That our lives are never dull. They are mostly about poo and farts and wiggly bottoms, cake consumption and Bob Marley renditions. Really is never a dull moment in our house. I'm grey with tiredness and worry, but what parent isn't? With support and invaluable help, we've overcome difficult times as a family. We've all learned our strengths and weaknesses and grown to see and value life in a very different way. There's rarely a dull moment anymore, and we appreciate the teams around us, the safety nets, such as the NHS, and we've learned to throw away our rule books and life planners. Our girls are both incredible, equally so. There's a place for each of them in the world, and each has made us better people as parents. Our lives just would not be the same without either of them. They're as thick as thieves, yet have the sibling ability to annoy each other with just one glance. The chromosome never ever gets counted. Oh, can I go back? Yeah. No, not your green. Never mind. When Natty was born, yes. Did any of you meet? This is Peter Cranham, who passed away last year. He came to stay with our great friend, and Lloyd Page, who works for Makeup. When Natty was born, I think of it now as breaking through a glass ceiling into a whole new world, a world where we're privileged to have so many friends we would never have met otherwise, and where we learnt what life is really about. Peter Cranham, who passed last year, and Lloyd Page from Makeup, two great friends that I value dearly, and have gone some way for making up the fact that I was denied friends with learning disabilities as a child. So let's break down those labels and make the world see each individual for the unique person they are. Is Natty musical and loving? Hell yeah, but what kid isn't? And she's a whole lot more besides. We are the lucky ones. And gradually and gently we're changing perceptions of learning disability together. Even if you students feel like you aren't making a difference, know that you are. You're changing one attitude at a time, one person at a time, and that will have a ripple effect. You are showing by shining example that all life is precious, worthy of respect, and we're all more alike than unalike. And we all know what we are, but not what we may be. We are all working together to the very same end, and in Helen's words, together we are better. And Mia is going to come to the stage now. Our eldest daughter Mia is going to come and talk to you. Now Mia prepared this presentation entirely by herself for a school project. She did the slides and everything. So bear that in mind. And I'll do the flicking. Perfect. Alright, sweetheart.
My little sister Natty is 8 years old. She's just like other sisters in lots of ways. Sometimes we go horse riding together. One second. Sometimes we go horse riding together, and she likes it when I lead her horse Dino or Freddie. This Christmas, we both entered the Gymkhana, and Natty came first in musical corners. I came second in walk, trot and run. We love cuddling on the sofa and watching Frozen, singing together or reading to each other. She always does silly things to cheer me up when I'm upset, or whispers, "It's okay, Mia, it's okay," in my ear. But sometimes she really annoys me. Or borrows my things. She drives me mad, and then I just want to go to my bedroom and get away from her. But she keeps coming in! It's so annoying. When she sings loudly to herself in the bathroom about stubbing her toe, poo or fart, it makes me laugh so much. Mum doesn't always see the funny side though. All sisters squabble sometimes, all sisters get into trouble, and all sisters love each other and have fun. We are no different. My sister also has Down syndrome. This means that she has one extra chromosome in every cell of her body. When she was little, she was quite poorly, and I couldn't visit her in the baby unit because I had a terrible cold, and that made me sad. When she was 2 years old, she had her heart fixed in Bristol Children's Hospital. Now she has titanium mesh inside her forever. That makes her bionic. But she is fixed. After the operation, she woke up and immediately blew a raspberry at the surgeon who helped her. She's funny. She's a bit smaller than other kids and needs extra help and time to learn things. She learns by looking, watching and copying. We used to use sign language to help her learn to speak, and she had some physiotherapy too. The point is, we all need help with some things, even if you don't realise it, even you and your brothers and sisters, even your parents and grandparents, even your teachers, and this is what communities and people are people helping each other. I need help cooking food and using sharp knives. Dad needs a mechanic to fix his car, and Mum's dentist helped her with a sore tooth. Actually, Dad helps Mum change light bulbs, and Mum has to show Dad how to use the washing machine. We are all different and unique, but we are very similar inside, and we learn lots from each other. Having Natty as my sister has taught me to be patient with other people. I am also very protective of my friends. Having a sister like Natty has taught me that life is not only about winning or having good school grades. It's about taking part, being happy and trying. It's also about having fun and working together. I wrote a book with my mum about our family and explaining what Down syndrome is. It's called I Love You, Natty, and I wrote this about my sister. I like it when Natalia takes photos of me. I like it when she kisses my Sorley better. I like it when she pulls funny faces. I like it when we read each other's stories. I like it when we dance in the kitchen. I like it when she hides in my bed. I like it when we play with our dog Pippin, but sometimes she's everything I say. Well done, Mia.
standing up here as well. Thank you all for what you do and what you are doing, and please do just keep it up because we love you all. Thank you so much.